Yes. Because he never did a thing like that before, as asked to get his breakfast in bed with a couple of eggs. Get his breakfast? Yes. He came somewhere, I'm sure, by his appetite. Anyway, love it's not, or he'd be off his feet thinking of her. It's some little bitch or other he's got in with somewhere. If they only knew him as well as I do. Somebody who thinks she has a softie in him, because all men get a bit like that. So as to wheedle any money she can out of him. No fool like an old fool. And then the usual kissing my bottom was to hide it. Not that I care two straws who he does it with, though I'd like to find out. So long as I don't have the two of them under my nose all the time. Like that slut, that Mary we had, padding out her false bottom to excite him. One woman is not enough for them. I wouldn't lower myself to spy on them. Yes, because he couldn't possibly do without it that long, so he must do it somewhere. Simply ruination for any woman. No satisfaction in it. Pretending to like it till he comes and then finish it off myself anyway. And it makes your lips pale. Anyhow, it's done now, once and for all. With all the talk of the world about it people make, it's only the first time. After that, it's just the ordinary do it and think no more about it. Why can't you kiss a man without going and marrying him? First, you sometimes love to, wildly. When you feel that way so nice all over you, you can't help yourself. There's nothing like a kiss long and hot down to your soul. Almost paralyzes you. Then I hate that confession when I used to go to Father Corrigan. He touched me, Father. And what harm if he did? Where? And I sit on the canal bank like a fool. But whereabouts on your person, my child? On the leg behind. High up, was it? Yes, rather high up. Was it where you sit down? Yes. Oh, Lord, couldn't he say bottom right out and have done with it? What has that got to do with it? And did you, whatever way he put it, I forget, know Father? And I always think of the real Father. What did he want to know for when I already confessed to God? I wondered, did he know me in the box? I could see his face. He couldn't see mine. Of course, he'd never turn or let on. Very lost for a woman, of course. I wonder, was he satisfied with me? One thing I didn't like, his slapping me behind, going away so familiarly in the hall. Though I laughed, I'm not a horse or an ass, am I? I wonder, is he awake thinking of me? Or dreaming? Am I in it? We took the port and potted meat. I had a fine, salty taste. Yes, because I felt lovely and tired myself. Fell asleep the moment I popped straight into bed. This damned old bed, too, jingling like the dickens. I suppose they could hear us away over the other side of the park. Till I suggested to put the quilt on the floor with a pillow under my bottom. Till that thunder, like those awful thunderbolts in Gibraltar. And they come and tell you there's no God. He'd scoff if he heard, because he never goes to church, mass, or meeting. He says your soul, you have no soul inside, only grey matter. Because he doesn't know what it is to have one. Yes, because he must have come 3 or 4 times with that tremendous big red brute of a thing he has. Though his nose is not so big. After I took off all my things with the blinds down, after my hours dressing and perfuming and combing it. Like iron or some kind of a thick crowbar standing all the time. He must have eaten oysters. I think a few dozen. He was in great singing voice. Oh, I never in all my life felt anyone had one the size of that to make you feel full up. What's the idea, making us like that, with a big hole in the middle of us? Like a stallion driving it up into you? Because that's all they want out of you, with that determined, vicious look in his eye. I'd half shut my eyes. Still, he hasn't such a tremendous amount of spunk in him. When I made him pull it out and do it on me, considering how big it is. So much the better in case any of it wasn't washed out properly. The last time I let him finish it in me. Nice invention they made for women, for him to get all the pleasure. But if someone gave them a touch of it themselves, they'd know what I went through with Rudy and Minna Purefoy's husband filling her up with a child or twins once a year, as regular as the clock, not satisfied until they have us swollen out like elephants. What could you make of a man like that? I'd rather die 20 times over than marry another of their sex. Of course, he'd never find another woman like me to put up with him the way I do. I liked the way he made love then. He knew the way to take a woman. When he sent me the 8 big poppies, because mine was the 8th. But he never knew how to embrace well, like Gardner. I looked a bit washy, of course, when I looked close in the hand glass powdering. A mirror never gives you the expression. Besides, scrooching down on me like that all the time with his big hip bones. He's heavy, too, with his hairy chest for this heat. Always having to lie down for them. Better for him put it into me from behind, the way Mrs. Mastiansky told me her husband made her, like the dogs do it. Than stick out her tongue as far as ever she could. Can you ever be up to men the way it takes them? But he was like a perfect devil for a few minutes after he came back with the stop press, tearing up the tickets, swearing blazes because he'd lost 20 quid. He said he lost over that outsider that won, and half he put on for me. In any case, if it's going to go on, I want at least 2 other good chemises for one thing. But I don't know what kind of drawers he likes. None at all, I think. Didn't he say? Yes. And half the girls in Gibraltar never wore them either. Naked as God made them. That Andalusian singing her Manola, she didn't make much secret of what she hadn't. Yes. What are all those veins and things? Curious the way it's made. 2 the same in case of twins. They're supposed to represent beauty placed up there, like those statues in the museum. One of them pretending to hide it with her hand. Are they so beautiful? Oh, of course, compared with what a man looks like with his 2 bags full and his other thing hanging down out of him or sticking up at you like a hat rack. No wonder they hide it with a cabbage leaf. The woman is beauty, of course, that's admitted. I wonder they're not afraid going about of getting a kick or a bang or something there. I declare somebody ought to put him in the budget. If I only could remember the 1/2 of the things and write a book out of it. The works of Master Poldy. All the pleasure those men get out of a woman. I can feel his mouth. Oh, Lord, I must stretch myself. I wish he was here, or somebody to let myself go with and come again like that. I feel all fire inside me. Or if I could dream it, when he made me spend the second time tickling me behind with his finger. I was coming for about 5 minutes with my legs round him. I had to hug him after. Oh, Lord, I wanted to shout out all sorts of things, fuck or shit or anything at all. Only not to look ugly. Or those lines from the strain. Who knows the way he'd take it? You want to feel your way with a man. They're not all like him, thank God. Some of them want you to be so nice about it. I notice the contrast. He does it and doesn't talk. I gave my eyes that look, with my hair a bit loose from the tumbling and my tongue between my lips up to him, a savage brute. Oh, thanks be to the great God I got somebody to give me what I badly wanted, to put some heart up into me. You've no chances at all in this place like you used to long ago. I wish somebody would write me a love letter, true or no, it fills up your whole day and life. Always something to think about every moment and see it all around you like a new world. I could write the answer in bed, short, just a few words. I never thought that would be my name, Bloom. Well, it's better than those awful names with bottom in them. Mrs. Ramsbottom, or some other kind of a bottom. That train again. Weeping tone. Once in the dear dead days beyond recall. Close my eyes. Breathe. My lips forward. Kiss. Sad look. Eyes open. Piano. Ere o'er the world the east began. I hate that east speak. Comes love's sweet song. I'll let that out full when I get in front of the footlights again. Kathleen Kearney and a lot of squealers. A lot of sparrow farts skidding around talking about politics. They know as much about as my backside. I suppose she's pious because no man will look at her twice. Gardner said no man could look at my mouth and teeth smiling like that and not think of it. I was afraid he mightn't like my accent at first. All father left me. I'd my mother's eyes and figure anyhow. He was dead gone on my lips. Let them get a husband first that's fit to be looked at. Or see if they can excite a swell with money that can pick and choose whoever he wants, like Boylan, to do it 4 or 5 times locked in each other's arms. Or the voice, either. I could have been a prima donna. Only I married him. Comes love's old. Deep down, chin back. Not too much. Make it double. Make them burst with envy. Anyway, I hope he's not going to get in with those medicals, leading him astray to imagine he's young again, squandering money and getting drunker and drunker. Couldn't they drink water? I love to hear him falling up the stairs of a morning with the cups rattling on the tray. Then he starts giving us his orders for eggs and tea and hot buttered toast. I suppose there isn't in all creation another man with the habits he has. It's well he doesn't kick or he might knock out all my teeth. Wait, there's George's church. Well, that's a nice hour of the night for him to be coming home at to anybody. First I'll look at his shirt to see. Or I'll see if he has that French letter still in his pocketbook. I suppose he thinks I don't know. Deceitful men. All their 20 pockets aren't enough for their lies. And why should we tell them? Even if it's the truth, they don't believe you. There's not another thing in their empty heads. So they ought to get slow poison, the half of them. Then tea and toast for him, buttered on both sides, and new-laid eggs. He's such a born liar, too. No, he'd never have the courage with a married woman. Though as for her, Dennis, as she calls him, that forlorn-looking spectacle, you couldn't call him a husband. Yes, it's some little bitch he's got in with. He says he's an author and going to be a university professor of Italian, and I'm to take lessons. What is he driving at now, showing him my photo? It's not good of me. Still, I look young in it. I wonder he didn't make him a present of it altogether, and me, too, after all. Why not? I was in mourning. That's 11 years ago now. Yes, he'd be 11. But what was the good in going into mourning? What was neither one thing nor the other? Of course, he insisted he'd go into mourning for the cat. I suppose he's a man now by this time. He was an innocent boy then, and a darling little fellow. He liked me, too, I remember. They all do. Wait, by God. Yes, hold on. He was on the cars this morning when I laid out the deck. Union with a younger stranger, neither dark nor fair, you met before. I thought it meant him. But he's no chicken nor a stranger either. They all write about some woman in their poetry. Well, I suppose you won't find many like me. Where softly sighs of love the light guitar, where poetry is in the air. I'm sure he's very distinguished. I'd like to meet a man like that. God, not those other ruck. Besides, he's young. Those fine young men I could see down in Margaret Strand bathing place from the side of the rock. Standing up in the sun, naked like a god or something. And then plunging into the sea with them. Why aren't all men like that? There'd be some consolation for a woman. Like that lovely little statue he bought. I could look at him all day long. There's real beauty and poetry for you. I often felt I wanted to kiss him all over. Also his lovely young cock there, so simply. I wouldn't mind taking him in my mouth if nobody was looking, as if it was asking you to suck it. So clean and white he looked, with his boyish face. I would, too, in half a minute, even if some of it went down. What, it's only like a gruel or the dew. There's no danger. Besides, he'd be so clean compared with those pigs of men, I suppose, who never dream of washing it from one year's end to the other, the most of them. Only that's what gives the women the moustaches. I'm sure it'll be grand if I can only get in with a handsome young poet at my age. I'll throw them the first thing in the morning till I see if the wish card comes out. I'll read and study all I can find, or learn a bit off by heart. If I knew who he likes, so he won't think me stupid, if he thinks all women are the same. And I can teach him the other part. I'll make him feel all over him till he half faints under me. Then he'll write about me lover and mistress publicly, too. With our 2 photographs in all the papers when he becomes famous. Oh, but then what am I going to do about him, though? It's all very well a husband, but you can't fool a lover. No, that's no way for him. Has he no manners, no refinement, no nothing in his nature? Slapping us behind like that on me bottom, because I didn't call him Hugh. The ignoramus doesn't know poetry from a cabbage. That's what you get for not keeping them in their proper place. Pulling off his shoes and trousers there on the chair before me so barefaced without even asking permission and standing out that vulgar way in the half of a shirt they wear to be admired. Of course he's right enough in his way to pass the time as a joke. Sure, you might as well be in bed with what? With a lion. God, I'm sure he'd have something better to say for himself, an old lion would. Oh, well, I suppose it's because they were so plump and tempting in my short petticoat he couldn't resist. They excite myself sometimes. It's well for men all the amount of pleasure they get off a woman's body. We're so round and white for them always. I wished I was one myself for a change. Just to try with that thing they have swelling upon you so hard, and at the same time so soft when you touch it. Men again all over. They can pick and choose what they please. A married woman or a fast widow or a girl for their different tastes. No, but we're to be always chained up. They're not going to be chaining me up, no damn fear. Once I start, I tell you, for stupid husbands, jealousy. Why can't we all remain friends over it instead of quarreling? What else were we given all those desires for, I'd like to know? I can't help it if I'm young still, can I? It's a wonder I'm not an old shriveled hag before my time, living with him so cold, never embracing me except sometimes when he's asleep. The wrong end of me, not knowing, I suppose, who he has. Any man that'd kiss a woman's bottom, I'd throw my hat at him. After that, he'd kiss anything unnatural, where we haven't one atom of any kind of expression in us. All of us the same 2 lumps of lard. Before I ever do that to a man. Phew, the dirty brutes. The mere thought is enough. I kiss the feet of you, senorita. There's a madman. Nobody understands his cracked ideas but me. Still, of course, a woman wants to be embraced 20 times a day, almost. To make her look young. No matter by who. So long as to be in love or loved by somebody. If the fellow you want isn't there. Sometimes, by the Lord God, I was thinking, would I go around by the quays there some dark evening where nobody'd know me and pick up a sailor off the sea that'd be hot on for it and not care a pin who I was, only to do it off up in a gate somewhere. One of those wild-looking gypsies in Rathfarnham, that blackguardly-looking fellow with the fine eyes peeling a switch, attack me in the dark, ride me up against the wall without a word, or a murderer, anybody. Only I suppose the half of those sailors are rotten again with disease. Oh, move over your big carcass out of that for the love of Mike. Listen to him. The winds that waft my sighs to thee. So well he may sleep and sigh. The great suggester, Don Polda de la Flora. And I'm to be slouching around down in the kitchen to get his lordship his breakfast while he's rolled up like a mummy. Will I indeed? Did you ever see me running? I'd just like to see myself at it. Show them attention, they treat you like dirt. I don't care what anybody says. It'd be much better for the world to be governed by the women in it. You wouldn't see women going and killing one another and slaughtering. Well, it's a poor case that those that have a fine son like that are not satisfied. But I none. Was he not able to make one? It wasn't my fault. We came together when I was watching the two dogs up in her behind in the middle of the naked street. That disheartened me altogether. I suppose I wouldn't have buried him in that little woolly jacket I knitted, crying as I was, but give it to some poor child. But I knew well I'd never have another. Our first death, too, it was. You were never the same since. Well, I'm not going to think myself into the glooms about that anymore. I wonder why he wouldn't stay the night. Ruining himself for life, perhaps. Still, it's a lovely hour. So silent. I'll mind to tell him every scrap. Serve him right. It's all his own fault if I'm an adulteress. Oh, much about it, if that's all the harm ever we did in this vale of tears. God knows it's not much. Doesn't everybody, only they hide it. I suppose that's what a woman is supposed to be there for. Or he wouldn't have made us the way he did, so attractive to men. As for them saying there's no God, I wouldn't give a snap of my two fingers for all their learning. Why don't they go and create something? Then they go howling for the priest and they dying. And why? Why? Because they're afraid of hell on account of their bad conscience. Ah, yes, I know them well. Who was the first person in the universe before there was anybody that made it all? Who? Ah, that they don't know. Neither do I, so there you are. They might as well try to stop the sun from rising tomorrow. The sun shines for you, he said, the day we were lying among the rhododendrons on Hoath Head. In the grey tweed suit and his straw hat, the day I got him to propose to me, yes. First I gave him the bit of seed cake out of my mouth, and it was leap year, like now, yes. 16 years ago. My God. After that long kiss, I near lost my breath. Yes. So we have flowers, all. A woman's body. Yes. That was one true thing he said in his life. And the sun shines for you today. Yes. That was why I liked him, because I saw he understood or felt what a woman is. And I knew I could always get round him, and I gave him all the pleasure I could, leading him on till he asked me to say yes. And I wouldn't answer first, only looked out over the sea and sky. Oh, that awful deep down torrent. Oh, and the sea crimson sometimes like fire. And the glorious sunsets and the fig trees in the Alameda Gardens, yes. And all the queer little streets and pink and blue and yellow houses and the rose gardens and the jessamine and geraniums and cactuses and Gibraltar as a girl where I was a flower of the mountain, yes. And I put the rose in my hair like the Andalusian girls used. Or shall I wear a red, yes. And how he kissed me under the Moorish wall. And I thought, well, as well him as another. And then I asked him with my eyes to ask again, yes. And then he asked me, would I, yes, to say yes, my mountain flower. And first I put my arms around him, yes. And drew him down to me so he could feel my breasts, all perfume, yes. And his heart was going like mad. And yes, I said, yes, I will, yes.